Nice being here today. Glory to God. Hallelujah. If you're online, sorry, we took like 5 minutes to come online. We are sorry for that. We are so sorry for that. We are so sorry for that. So we are starting today. If you're online, kindly indicate if you're online. Bless you. So if you're just joining, to have you here today. God bless you. All right. Today on this very special program, introduction to mobile application development, and we have two great people by the grace of God, who are children of God, and who will be taking us today. And uh, if you just drop your name in the section, God bless you. Just drop your name in the chat section. It's better now. All right. So it's nice to be here from Rakindele Taiwo. So you're welcome. So we're waiting for others to join. We're waiting for others to join. Okay. So we'll be starting the class in some few minutes by the grace of God. And as I said, we have our tutor ready by God's grace. I think the network is better now, and we can continue by God's grace. So now, the main necessities of this class is to introduce children of God to mobile application development, and mainly for the propagation of the gospel, and to also increase in our tech skills. Okay, now we've had several sessions like introduction to cloud computing. We've talked about women in tech. We have had classes on other things, but today, by God's grace, okay, by we having a very great class on Android development. So I welcome Mr. Taiwo for the opening prayer. If you're there, I will just add you to the screen, and you can take the opening prayer by God's grace. Are you there, sir? Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, sir. All right. The opening prayer, sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
All
Good
right.
afternoon, everyone.
We have you for the
Yes.
opening prayer, sir. All right, sir.
So, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here. So, Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for the opportunity to be here
Amen.
once again. Daddy, we thank you for the availability you've given unto us to be here today. Daddy, be the exalted Lord in the name of Jesus. And Daddy, we commit the program of
Amen.
today unto your hands. That you take perfect control in the name of Jesus. That everything we are doing
Amen.
today, that all the glory be to your name in the name of Jesus. That our learning of
Amen.
today, Daddy, we will understand it in the name of Jesus. That everybody
Amen.
that will be in this meeting, from the host to the presenter to the audience, that they all will be blessed in the name of Jesus. That no one will go back
Amen.
home the same way. That at the end of
Amen.
today, all glory will be to your name. For in Jesus'
Amen.
unfailing name, I have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tayo. Mr. Tayo is a
Thank you.
very great man of God, I would say. We knew when he was on campus in Adekunle University, a computer science graduate. He is an Android developer, and we are so much happy to have you here this evening. God bless you, sir. Thank you very much for coming, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, God bless you, sir. So I'll
Thank
just
you.
remove him from the screen. Okay, now everyone, it's nice having you once again. If you are joining us, please just send your name in the chat section and say hello. We want to know if you are here. Okay, I can see bro Samuel Osho saying amen to the prayer. You're welcome. It's nice having you. We're waiting for others to join too. Our tutor is ready, as I said earlier, and we are just waiting for you to come on. So even we have more people, we start by God's grace around 2:15 p.m. So if you are joining once again, I say you're welcome. Just send your name in the chat section and say hello, and we will be glad to welcome you. All right. Okay, so while waiting for others to join, I said by God's grace, 2:15 we are starting, and our tutor is ready and ready to start with us by the grace of God. Okay, I'm adding Mr. Ona to the screen, and okay, Mr. Ona, your device is not connected. Okay, so the lecture will be taken by Mr. Chukwuebuka Ona and not Mr. David Taiwo, and I sure you will enjoy this great class this afternoon. He's also another developer and a colleague of Mr. Taiwo. Mr. Taiwo is still online, and we'll be answering questions at the end of the class. Just be attentive and make sure you are jotting and putting down things that are necessary. God bless you. So, Mr. Chukwuebuka, you're welcome, sir. I've added
Thank
it to
you.
the screen, sir. You're welcome, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so please kindly introduce yourself. This is already 2:15 p.m. Kindly introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. My name is Chukwuebuka Ona, and I'm a mobile developer. I develop Android and iOS applications using Flutter, and I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
All right, it's nice having you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, without wasting much time, I will leave the stage for you to take the floor, sir.
All right. All right, I've shared my screen. All right, good day, everyone. Once again. So we'll be looking at Flutter, a cross-platform tool that is used for Android and iOS development. So if you're someone that has been updated or you have been in the field of technology for quite some time now, you must have heard about Flutter. There has been a lot of hype going around Flutter lately, especially with the new version of Flutter. Flutter version 2 just came out months ago, and there have been a lot of people talking about Flutter, a lot of discussions, a lot of things about Flutter. So today we're going to learn what Flutter is exactly, and we'll look at some applications that people have built using Flutter, and we'll also look at other ones that I myself have built using Flutter, and we'll also run our Flutter code on different platforms. So you'll see why we call Flutter a cross-platform development tool. So let's go into what we have for today. What exactly is Flutter? So you have been hearing Flutter, Flutter, Flutter. So let's talk about what Flutter is exactly. So Flutter is Google's UI toolkit for building beautiful, natively compiled application for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. All right. So as you can see here, you'll find out that Flutter was created by Google. Yeah. And the amazing thing about Flutter is that it is cross-platform. With Flutter, you can create an application that will run on an Android device. You can create that same application which you wrote that is running on an Android device. You can compile it to run on an iOS device. You can compile it to run as a desktop application. You can compile it to run even as a web application to run on a browser. So this is how amazing Flutter is. The second point here is that a single code base, okay, it allows you run compile application for these different platforms from a single code base. A single code base means that you do not need to rewrite your application entirely when you want to extend to other platforms. Exactly as I've said earlier on, with Flutter, if you write an application once, you don't have to start writing the application from beginning again if you want to run that application on another platform. Take, for example, if you develop an application using Android Java, Android native development using Java or Kotlin, when it gets to a point that you want to extend the applications to other platforms, let's say you now want to extend that particular application to iOS, you observe that you still have to go back to the drawing board and start recreating that same application from scratch, making use of Swift or Objective-C. So these are the limitations that we have when you are doing native development, when you're developing for Android alone or for iOS alone. But with Flutter now, it will allow you to write a single code base. And using that single code base, you'll be able to compile your application for different platforms, be it for Android, for iOS, for web, for mobile, and even as a desktop application. Well, I'm going to give examples later on. I'm going to compile some applications for different platforms so you will see how it works. So Flutter achieves this by providing a means of accessing platform APIs like camera, microphone, etc., regardless of the platform the user is on. So normally in um, native development, native mobile development, um, Android operating system provides a way with which programmers can access the hardware of the phone being used. For example, if you want to access the fingerprint of a mobile device, um, Android has provided you a method, an API for accessing the fingerprint. If you want to access camera, Android have provided an API to access the camera. Likewise, um, iOS to have provided their own different APIs for accessing the various hardware like the camera, the microphone, and the rest of them. So what Flutter does is that Flutter will give you only one API or only one set of code, which you can use to access the camera, microphone, or everything else, regardless of the platform which the user is on. So in your Flutter code, if you just write that you want to access the camera, whether the device the user is using is an iOS device or whether it's an Android device, with your Flutter code, you will still be able to access all these features once. So that's one of the good things of Flutter. Then another thing we should know about Flutter, very important, is that Flutter is built on the Dart programming language. So the Dart programming language has been around for some time. It has been around since around 2017 or so. And even though it is pretty new, it has lots and lots of features which you will enjoy. And I think that has been one of the reasons a number of people are running away from Flutter. They'll say, okay, well, I don't want to learn a new programming language. I don't want to learn that programming language. I've learned enough already. But the thing there actually is that the Dart programming language is very, very easy. In fact, if you have done something like Java before or even JavaScript, you'll be able to cope with um, the Dart programming language very easily because the syntax look very, very the same. Just a few more features. Um, that's it. Let's proceed. Now, why use Flutter? So yeah, I brought out some reasons why you might want to adopt Flutter for your future projects, things that you want to build, the future applications you want to build. Why should you use Flutter? Why not use Android native? Why not use, let's say, React native or other frameworks like that? Right. The first reason or the first advantage of using Flutter is one, single code base. Single code base. I've made reference to this previously. I said that if you write your code once, you'll be able to compile that your code base for different platforms, regardless of the platform. So with one code base, you can compile for Android, you can compile for iOS, you can compile for different platforms. And with Flutter version 2, now you can build um, a full web application or a full website making use of Flutter. That's to show you how amazing Flutter is. So let's go on. The second advantage of using Flutter that I have listed here is out of the box widgets. Out of the box widgets, and I further went to say ease of creating UI, ease of creating user interface. So this is one of the interesting things about Flutter. This is what makes your Flutter development a whole lot easier. Now in Flutter, if you need to add a button to your application, all you need to do is use a button widget. If you want to add a text to your application, you just use the text widget. All these widgets are just components that have been provided to you already inbuilt into Flutter. So all you just need to do is that you just be using calling any component that you need, and it is going to be appearing. It is going to be appearing within your application. So that is how easy it is to create an application with Flutter. And the cool thing is that those widgets that are built into Flutter already have, they already follow Google's material design standards. So for the fact that those widgets are already following Google material design standards, even if you don't take your time to edit or do a lot of customizations on the widget and things like that, the widgets, the application will still look very good because the widgets you are making use of are already following Google's material design standard. All right, so that is a very big advantage in using Flutter. You have out of the box widgets which you can easily use combine to create your um, Flutter application. All right, let's go forward. Native performance. This is a very important reason for developing with Flutter. Compared to React Native, Flutter has a very high performance. Now, Flutter, if you see some of the applications that have been built with Flutter before, you see a lot of nice animations. You see speedy animations. You see things being displayed very fast, and it looks very great. Now that's the thing about Flutter. Flutter compiles directly to native code. And for the fact that Flutter compiles directly to native code, it is a lot more faster compared to some other cross-platform tools. Things like React Native. React Native is fast too, yeah, and it's also used to create cross-platform applications. But the issue with React Native is that it connects through a JavaScript bridge. So your JavaScript code is like being interpreted to native code. So there's a lot of interpretation and compilation going on there. But in the case of Flutter, your Flutter code, your that code compiles once into native code. So Flutter applications are usually very, very fast. Okay, let's go forward. The next point I have here is fast development. And this is one of my favorite features of Flutter, hot reload. Now, when you are designing a Flutter app, let's say you're building a user interface, making use of Flutter, there's a feature you have hot reload. Hot reload, okay, let me explain how hot reload works. If you are building an application, and let's say you want to change the color of something in the application, now with hot reload, if you just make that color change in your code, you can just hot reload the application, and with hot reload, it will display all those changes you have made on your code instantly in the application that you have running. So it's not as if you finish writing your code, you will recompile it again to see your changes. No, with hot reload, as you just finish making your changes, you can just hot reload and you see your changes made in the app immediately. And that's one of the nice features of Flutter hot reloads. So let's go forward. Great integration with backend services. I think that one is pretty much self-explanatory. If you are making use of if you are making use of Flutter, you can easily integrate a lot of backend services into your Flutter app with ease. You understand? For example, if you have an API you want to connect to, Flutter already has a lot of um, tools and packages that allows you connect to API without stress. So if you want to, let's say you want to use a back-endless service like Firebase, you can easily integrate Firebase into your Flutter application. If you want to use something like GraphQL, you can easily integrate it. So Flutter already can easily integrate with any backend service, a lot of backend service that are available in programming languages, just like JavaScript. It's just like Java. You understand? It's just like all this object-oriented programming language. So if you understand something like Java or JavaScript, you can easily adopt that without any stress. So let's move forward. That's one of my favorites also. When Flutter came out newly, like let's say last 2 years or so, a lot of people were reluctant to learn Flutter because a lot of people were like, okay, the Flutter is very new, that even if they learn the skill, there are no companies willing to hire them or to hire them to come and work with Flutter. You understand? So it was a very good reason for a lot of people not to learn Flutter. In the lots of companies have seen the potential things like but and in fact other parts of the world for now is to build an application how fluidly Flutter runs on the different a lot of big companies, Alibaba, all that exist.
sorry, we lost our I think he lost his connection. We're trying to get him back. Sorry for that. We are very sorry for that. We'll be coming back very soon. Sorry for that. Okay, he's back. Okay, well, we're still waiting for him. Sorry for the break in transmission, brethren. Okay, he's back. It's actually cool. Kindly, okay, he's back. All right, hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir? All right. I think maybe it is connection. But while we wait for him, all the same, the class has been good, and if you're following along, you're seeing the good of the Flutter framework for that um, language by Google, and we've all seen the great community and how it is good and easy to build applications for web, mobile, mobile that is iOS and Android. Then you can easily build web applications through Flutter easily. I can tell you that we're going to learn a lot of things. Just stay tuned. Uh, right from here, I can see he's trying to join back, and once he's back, we have him once again. Sorry for the break in transmission. He's coming back soon. All right, Rotembo, it's nice having you two here. I'm so glad seeing you here. God bless you, sir. Our speaker is back on. Now we just check if he's ready to continue. If he's ready, okay, if he's ready, we go. Okay. Hello, sir. Hello,
Right,
sir.
can you hear
We can't hear you.
me
Yeah, we can hear
clearly
you now, sir.
now?
Are you ready to? Okay. Okay, you can continue now, sir.
Okay, okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, sorry
Okay.
for the break in transmission. Yeah, all right. So let's move forward. Okay, let's reconnect. Let's get ourselves back. I'm sorry for the break. All right, let's moving on. The next feature or the next advantage of Flutter is the great documentation, right? So there are a lot of tutorials, there are a lot of materials to help you learn Flutter if you're interested in learning Flutter. So all you just need to do is get those, and a lot of them are readily available online. So you can easily get those and use them to learn Flutter. All right. So finally, also added to the previous advantage is the great community. The Flutter community is growing very big. There are lots of people that are already good in Flutter, very familiar with Flutter, that are willing to teach the rest. So Flutter has a big community. In fact, almost any issue you are going to encounter in Flutter, someone has encountered it before. So you can readily find answers to whatever questions you have on Flutter. So let's move forward to the next slide. All right. So these are a list of some big organizations that make use of Flutter. Yeah, you can see BMW. There are a lot of other ones that are not here on this list, but this list is like as of 2019 that this list was created, and there are a lot of others that have joined recently. Like I made mention of Toyota previously, and Ubuntu, and several other big organizations that have learned Flutter. So they have adopted Flutter. So by these companies adopting Flutter, you see that the demand for Flutter developers is still growing. It's still growing very much. So um, it's a cool thing to know that the skill you are learning is a skill that's actually worthwhile, that it can be applied in different organizations. So that's that. Let's move ahead. All right. Now, after all I've said about Flutter, all the advantages and other things I've said about Flutter, the ease of building applications with Flutter, the ease of running um, cross-platform, building cross-platforms application, building one application to run on Android and iOS and the rest of them, you would be asking yourself, how do I get started with Flutter? Right? So I will answer those questions now, moving ahead. So let's go forward. Right. So Flutter itself have provided a proper documentation on how to set up Flutter on your computer. Now, normally we make to code for Flutter, you make use of different IDEs. There are different alternatives available. There's Android Studio, there's IntelliJ. IntelliJ is more like Android Studio. There's also VS Code. For some of us that are already into web development, I think it will be easier for you to pick up VS Code and use it for your Flutter development. For others that are into native Android development, I think they can easily pick up Android Studio or IntelliJ and use it for your Flutter development. So by just clicking, Flutter itself provides uh, a documentation on how you can a documentation on how you can install Flutter on your different operating system, whether you're using Windows, whether you're using Linux or Mac OS. Following this link here, flutter.dev, you'll be able to see how you install Flutter on your own operating system. So let's go forward. Right now, when you have finished setting up your environment, your development environment, your IDE, whether Android Studio or whatever, you will now, the next thing you begin to ask yourself is, where do I start from? Because there's a lot and lot of content. There's a lot of tutorial about Flutter. So you begin to ask yourself, like, where exactly do I start from? So I made a small list of things that you're going to start from that is going to help you or to help you on your journey and Flutter development. Okay. So the first thing here is the Dart programming language. As I've said earlier, the Flutter itself is built on the Dart programming language. So for you to be good at Flutter, for you to excel in Flutter development, you need to understand the different features of that programming language. And for you to become a better Flutter developer, there are a lot of features that Dart provides that you should be able to make use of in order to build your applications much faster and make your code cleaner. So that's one thing you have to learn. Then the second thing is object-oriented programming concepts. So if you are someone that wants to go into Flutter development, you should have basic knowledge of object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming just has to do with making use of classes, making use of methods or functions, and things like that. So you will have to look for tutorials or content on object-oriented programming concepts. Now that's for the Dart programming language. Now you don't need to be um, an expert in the Dart programming language before you can proceed to Flutter. All you just need to know is that grab the basic syntax of the Dart programming language. You understand several the various features of the Dart programming language. Once you just grab them and understand those concepts, you can now dive into Flutter. Now, when you start dealing with Flutter, you'll be looking at things like widgets, which we'll talk a lot of on that later. Widgets. I think okay, I've said a bit about widgets before. That each component on your Flutter application, be it a button, a text, or whatever, is regarded as a widget. So you also learn how to combine widgets to create user interfaces. So you also learn how to um, make use of your text widget with your button widget, how to put together all these widgets in order to create a functioning application. So I think that is another very important thing. That's the next thing you will learn after you learn how widgets works. So after that, the next thing you will learn is app navigation. App navigation. Normally in an application, you have different screens. Like you can have the login screen, you can have the sign up screen, you can have the home screen. So you have to learn how you can navigate within the screens. So after you have learned how to build user interfaces or build basic user interfaces, making use of Flutter and Dart, you will now learn app navigations, how you can navigate, um, how you can navigate within your application, how you can move from this screen to another screen, and things like that. Then after learning about application navigation, you'll be able to build a basic application that displays things. So with just knowledge of widgets, combining widgets and app navigation, you can build a very basic application. Then you can go further to learn about packages. Now, packages are libraries, or let me just say block of codes that have been written by other people, which you can integrate into your Flutter application. For example, if you want to implement something like, um, okay, let's say you need a feature in your app that analyzes mathematical expressions. Let's say um, you need to analyze things like sine, cosine, and other things like that. You can just go and get a package for that particular functionality and integrate it into your app, and that functionality starts working. Yeah, this I should have added this to one of the benefits of Flutter. So the use of packages will make your Flutter development a lot faster, since you can just integrate packages for, if there's a package for a feature which you want to develop, you can just integrate your package and move on. So that's another thing you will learn. Then another important thing you will learn is state management. But once you get to the stage of state management, you know that at least you are getting a good grasp of Flutter and the Dart programming language. State management is just how to do it, how you manage data within your application. It could be data that's collected from the user on the app. It could be data that's gotten from a server, data from anywhere. So there are a lot of strategies, different ways you can manage your data within the application to keep your code clean and all that. So that's state management. So once you have learned about packages, you can proceed to learn about state management. And finally, on this list, the list is very long, but I just listed this few. With this few, you can be able to build a very basic Flutter applications. Then another one which I considered important is local data persistence. So with local data persistence, you will learn how to store um, data locally on the device that is running your application. Let's say you have some information on the app that you want to store in the device memory. So you use local persistence to do that. So if you learn these 6 points, if you learn these 6 things, you already have a very good knowledge of Flutter, and you'll be able to build very basic applications using Flutter. So let's go forward. Now, you have seen the things you want to learn, so you might start asking, where can I get materials? Where can I get content to learn all this? So in fact, the first that should be on the list here is the official Flutter documentation. Flutter has already provided um, a documentation where you can see various information about Flutter, how to use Flutter, the various widgets that are available in Flutter, advantages of Flutter, and a lot of other things like that. So the Flutter official documentation is the first thing. And your experts will also tell you that the official Flutter documentation should be your major source of information on anything regarding concerning Flutter. So, but the thing is that for starters or for beginners, it might be a bit difficult to flow with the official documentation. So, for a lot of people, I advise them to make use of video tutorials. So, if you know that you learn very well from tutorials or from video, you can look for, there are lots and lots of videos on YouTube for Flutter. As I said previously, the community, Flutter community is very big. So there are lots of content for that. You can also take courses on that. You can join different communities like this one that you're on now. So different communities where you can learn about Flutter. Then you can also join the family on Twitter. There's a lot of news about Flutter on Twitter. Twitter themselves have their own handle where they post useful information. So these are the various places where you can gather information about Flutter, different places where you can be to grow your skills as a Flutter developer. So let's move on. All right. So I've made mention of widgets not less than 5 times in this talk. And you might have been wondering what exactly is widgets in Flutter. Now, the thing about widgets is that widgets are a very, very important feature of um, very, very important feature of Flutter, because anything, any user interface that you have in Flutter, right? So what exactly are widgets? Now, widgets are the basic building blocks of user interfaces on Flutter. So as I've said previously, there's a widget for button, there's a widget for text, there's a widget. If you want to display an image in your application, you use a widget. If you want to display um, a button, you use a widget. If you want to display any single thing that you want to display in your Flutter application, you use a widget for that. So now in Flutter, everything is said to be a widget. Text are widgets, images are widgets, buttons are widgets. So it is all these widgets that you have in Flutter that you combine together in order to create your Flutter application, right? So the use of widgets allow you to write declarative code in such a way that you can declare whatever you want to be displayed on the screen, right? Need a button, you declare the button widget in your code and a button appears. It's as simple as that. So let's move on. Now, as I said previously, there are a lot of built-in widgets in Flutter. Um, Widgets that come out of the box with Flutter, like if you just get Flutter installed or set up on your computer, there are various widgets which you get access to already. So you can make use of this widget by declaring them in your code. Now there are widgets such as text. I've mentioned text before. There's a container widget. There's a column widget which allows you stack components on top each other. There's a row widget which allows you um, arrange components side by side and scaffold. More on that in a bit. Now, the fact that you have widgets that are built into the Flutter, you might be wondering that, okay, are there ways you can edit those widgets? Yeah, you can actually customize the widget in any way you want in order to suit your needs. So if you want to, like, taking a text widget as an example, if you want to change the text color or the font size or the font weight, you can be able to manipulate or customize each of these properties on the text widget in order to achieve whatever you want, right? So just about every property of a widget can be styled, giving you the freedom to achieve any type of interface, any type of user interface, just by applying customizations to a widget, right? So if you have a text widget, you'll be able to go forward and style that widget. Like we see in this example, here's what a typical Flutter code looks like. So in this code, we created a text widget that displays a text, hello. Now, we now went further to declare a style for that text. If you're someone that does CSS, this should be looking kind of familiar. The difference between using Flutter and that of web development is that while you are writing the structure of the application, you also be doing the styling. So instead of writing your HTML and writing your CSS, in Flutter, you will write both the structure of your application and the style of your application using Flutter in the same place. So like here, we have a text that's displaying hello on the screen, and we can see it has a property style that takes an object text style, where we'll now be able to customize the font size. You can see I changed the font size to 20 pixel. I changed the color to red. I changed the font weight to bold. So these are the various ways you can customize. These are the different properties that you can customize on the text. There are lots and lots of properties that you'll be able to customize in any widget at all. So Any widget at all that you'll be making use of will provide a set of properties that you can style. All right. Stay with me. If you have any questions, do leave them in the comments, so we'll come back to those later. All right. So another important thing I will briefly talk about before we move ahead is the concept of widget trees. All right. Now, this concept is a bit overwhelming for beginners. It might be a bit difficult to understand, but as you move ahead, you easily learn it. Now, building Flutter user interface usually results in a hierarchy of widgets, each widget wrapping around another widget. All right, from our previous example, we used a text widget to display hello on the screen. All right. But now, at some point, you might want to add a background color to the text widget. But now the text widget in itself does not have a background color property. Like you can't be able to assign a background color to that text. So what you just do is that you find another widget that can allow you apply background color and use that widget. In this case, a container can allow you apply a background color. So you can use a container to wrap the text widget. So if you use that container to wrap a text widget, you can be able to apply your background color to that container and you'll be able to see your changes. So you'll understand that more as we go on. All right. So this is the example I gave here. Now you can see the previous text widget we had, a text widget that displays hello on the screen. Now you can see that we now wrapped the text widget with another widget called a container widget that will allow us apply a background color. So I now applied colors.red. I applied a red color to the container. So when this displays on the screen now, you see um, a text displaying hello inside a red container. So that's what you see if you run this code in Flutter. So this is how easy it is to build user interfaces using Flutter. So you just, the same way we have these two widgets here, you can keep adding different widgets that perform different things. So with that, you'll be able to build almost any type of user interface you want to build using Flutter. So let's move ahead. Now, concluding on the concept of wrapping, like having a widget wrap another widget. Now in Flutter, your entire application is wrapped with a widget called a material app widget. Now the material app widget will allow you um, change some settings for the entire Flutter application. So any single Flutter app you have, the parent widget that's going to be wrapping everything. In Flutter, we say that everything is a widget, everything, because everything you're going to be using to build or to create user interfaces in Flutter is a widget. So you have a material app widget that is going to wrap the entire application. All right. So within that material app widget, you can be able to specify some properties or some settings for the application. Like inside the material app widget, you have properties such as the theme, which you'll be able to set the theme colors for the application, like um, the primary color, the accent color, and the rest of them. So you can do all those settings for your application will stay inside the material app widget. Now the material app widget itself will now wrap other screens that are going to be displayed in your application. So if you look at this diagram I have here, I have three scaffolds. We have scaffold 1 here, scaffold 2, and scaffold 3. So as you can see here, the material app is wrapping these three scaffolds. Now in Flutter, each scaffold is used to create a different screen. So we can call this first scaffold screen 1, screen 2, and screen 3. So now you can see that the scaffold itself is wrapping other widgets. Like this first scaffold is wrapping a column. All right. This second scaffold is wrapping a row. This third scaffold is wrapping a list view. So if you are looking at this diagram now, you can begin to see a kind of widget tree, a kind of hierarchy that has been formed among the widgets. So you can see the material app is housing different screens, different scaffolds. Now each of these scaffolds now is housing the content of that particular screen. All right. So It's a bit complex, but as you go more into Flutter development, I just wanted to give you a hint of how your Flutter code will look like. So with this diagram, you can be able to visualize um, what a basic Flutter application will look like. So let's go further. All right, this is what it looks like in code. So here you can see, I will just go straight. You can see this on line 5, you can see material app. Now material app is wrapping the entire application. So anything that you want to do in your application must be contained within this material app. And as you can see here from the material app, I'm able to give the entire application a title. Here I call the title first app. Okay. Then inside that material app, now I'm able to specify a home screen, which is the first screen the application is going to display when it starts. And that home screen, as you can see here, is a scaffold. All right. Remember, I told you previously that a scaffold is used to create screens. So different scaffold house different screens. Are you with me? Right. So you see the scaffold now is now containing the things that are going to be displayed on this screen. So I think another time we might go through some code and see how to apply all these things in practical. So let's move ahead. Right now, while you start learning Flutter, you start thinking of some best practices, like the way to make your code efficient, the way to structure your code, make your code look more cleaner, and the rest of them. So I brought out some of the practices which you could adopt in order to make your code much nicer. All right. So one of the best practices is using Dart conventions. Okay. So Dart provides some rules and regulations um, on how to write your code. They will give you conventions. They will give you rules on how to name variables. They will tell you how you will name functions. They will tell you how to name different things, how you should write your code, so that your code will look exactly as they want your code to be. So if you go to this link here, that's dat.dev/guides, you'll be able to see the different Dart conventions that are laid out for developers to follow. So by just looking at someone's code, you can be able to tell whether the person is following the proper Dart conventions or the person is just writing what he knows. So you can go to this link, dat.dev/guides, in order to check out other Dart conventions. All right, so let's move ahead. Now, another best practice and another thing I'll say have helped me so much when I write code is modularizing your code. All right, modularizing your code has to do with dividing your code into modules. Modules in the sense that if you know that there's a particular block of code that performs some group of action, you should take those group of code and keep them in one place. Let's say you have an application and you have some set of code that perform logging into your application. You should take that block of code and put it inside a function. So your code will be properly separated. You separate your functions, you separate classes. You understand? Like everything should be separated so that your code will look a lot more cleaner. So that is what, when we talk about modularizing our code, that is what we mean. So typically, the way, if to give an example on how to modularize our code, a perfect example I will give is that when, okay, in your application, let's say your application has features like logging in, registration, and some things like that. So you can create a class that is going to handle everything that pertains to registration. Okay, so that class will house functions like logging in, like logging out, like registration, and the rest of them. So you can create one class to house or to contain all these functions because all of them are grouped together. All right, you understand? So my emphasis here is that you should learn to divide your code so that it will look very good and easy to read. So that's that about modularizing our code. Then as we go further, you'll see the next point is separation of concerns. And this is one of the issues a lot of people have when they come into um, Flutter development, because Flutter gives you a lot of freedom on how you write your code. Because in Flutter, you are making use of that to write your user interface, which is your views. And you're also using that to write the functionalities. So if you want to log into a website, you also use that to write that login functionality. So the problem is that all these functionalities, you can go and pack all of them and put them in the same file, and everything will still be running as it is supposed to be. But now, even though it is running, you are not following proper conventions, you are not following best practices. Now, the best practice is that you learn to divide your Flutter code that is displaying content on the screen from your Flutter code that is handling functionalities. We call that separation of concerns in logic, dividing your business logic from your views. So your business logic are the various functionality, the codes that handle functionality. Then the views is the user interface, what you can see on your screen. So that's one of the best practices in Flutter, separation of concern. So moving ahead, the next one is use state management solutions. Now, I've mentioned state management earlier, and I told us that state management is um, how you handle data within your application. Okay, how you handle data within your application. The data might be data that is obtained from the user within the application. It might be data that is fetched from an external server. Understand, the data could be from anywhere, but the way you manage that data within your application and the way you present that data within your application is known as state management. So this is one of the most important topic in Flutter development, because a lot of people are coming up with different ways to manage data in your application. So the state of your application is just those data that are within the application. So when I say state management, I just mean data management within your application. So there are a lot of state management solutions such as providers, Liverport, Block, MobX. There are a lot of them. There's GetX, there's a lot of them. There's qubit. So the thing is that when you have learned the basics of Flutter, you have to go ahead and learn a state management solution. So it will make your code a lot more cleaner. Right then, finally, there are other practices, but these are the ones I've selected. So we'll look at them together. And finally, we have use packages when necessary. Use packages when necessary. Now, as I said previously, there are a lot of packages that you can use with Flutter, packages that perform different functions. Like there are packages to handle date and time, like calculation regarding to date and time. So if you want to application regarding to date and time, so if you want to application and make use of it, so you can use different packages to speed up your development, and that's part of the best practices. But the thing, as you can see, I added when necessary and highlighted it. Now, when necessary is that if there are functionalities that are easy to write, that you can write it by yourself, it is much more preferable to write those functionalities on your own instead of using a package that is already written by another person and control that package the way you want it. So the thing is that if you can write a functionality yourself and it is something that will be straightforward to write, you can go ahead and write it yourself. But if the thing you want to achieve is already contained, like everything you want to achieve is already contained in a package, you can easily go ahead and download that application and go ahead and make use of the package and achieve what you want. Right? So it is, let's move forward. So we'll be looking at some applications now. I'll be showing you some applications I've built using Flutter. So you see how applications built from Flutter works. Then I'll also be showing, I will also pick an application and compile it for different framework on different platforms. I mean, So I can take an app, run it on Android, run it on iOS. So you see how Flutter work, how easy it is to use Flutter and build applications. So let me proceed to share my screen properly. Right, I believe you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, please let me know, so I'll be sure of that. So let me start up Android Studio and show you some of the please let me know if you are seeing my screen. So all right, so let's just give it some time to load up. So okay, I think my system is a bit slow. Let me. Okay, let me give an Android example first. Then from there we'll proceed to iOS. So let me start my Android emulator first. Then we'll go ahead and we'll run this. This is an application I want to use as an example. So first of all, we'll run the application on Android operating system. Then we'll also run it on iOS. So we'll see how you can compile different apps for different operating systems.
Sorry, I think Mr. Chukwuemeka lost his connection and we're waiting for him. Okay, so he is going to raise his laptop and we're just going to wait for him on that. He was showing us some applications he built with Flutter. So I've shown my presentation for him to use. information. But while we are waiting, I will give some updates quickly. Okay, while we are waiting for him to restart, I'll just um I'll just share my screen and tell us about taking client. Just tell us about taking client, what taking client is all about, how we are uploading this kind of seminar. I'll just share a link of it. All right. The vision and mission of Technic Line. The vision is to unite the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ through advanced technology. Our mission is building godly professionals in church media. By the grace of God, we have been working to this vision and mission, building uh, advanced technology, bring them into use and okay. So I think you can hear me now. Sharing and dedicating works, especially giving other people works when your desk is filled up, and then you can open up and get help from professionals when you need help on tech or church media. Then we also have what contracts and recommend others for work, and that's one of the best things to do when you have opportunities and you know you're not putting for it. You can share with the community, and somebody who is fitting can come up and join. All right, so that's all about tech line. Uh, I will share a link now where you can all join the WhatsApp group. So if you're interested to join the WhatsApp group, you can join the WhatsApp group through bit.ly /tech line. And we know know more about the community when we get my questions. I'm waiting for Mr. Chukwuka to come on. Welcome back, sir. Hello, sir. Are you there, sir? Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. My, my laptop, it says my laptop was a bit tired or something. It was lagging, but I'm back here.
All right. All right. You're welcome back, sir. I'm glad you are. Okay. I'll
Yeah,
just.
let's. Okay, please. Let's continue. Just help me check if you can see my screen, please, before we go ahead. So, I have my iOS simulator here, and okay, let me get started. If you're following, please signify so I will be sure I'm not alone. Okay, I guess you're following, so let me just go for that. So now, I have this application. As you can see here, I have the Android counterpart here. Let me open it. So we'll see what it's like. Then we'll compare what it looks like on the two platforms. So you see how you'll be able to create applications on the two platforms without having any issue at all. So while we wait for the other one, I think let me log in here. All right. So here we can see the application running on iOS without having any issues at all. So this same application that I'm running on iOS now, let me run it on Android. So on Android, we'll be able to see how the application will look. So I'm going to start the application on my Android emulator now. Don't know, my laptop just became very, very slow. I don't know why, but I guess you have to bear with me. I don't know whether it's the screen broadcast that's causing it. Right, so let me restart it. Right, so now after running it on Android, I'm still going to run it on Mac OS. That's if my system will let me. So we'll also see how it looks on Mac OS. So let's give it some time and see if it will load on Android. So exactly the same application which we are running on my iOS simulator. As you can see here, we are also running that same application on my emulator. So here I can also sign in. And here we are, we have that same application running on our Android emulator without having any issues at all. So that's how easy it is to develop using Flutter. And apart from Android, you can still go further and compile this same application for Mac OS, which I'll do now, but I just hope it won't take much of our time. So I can select Mac OS, and as you can see here, I have the option to select for web. So that means I can select the application to run as a web application. So I can just select desktop here, and let me run it there and see what it will look like. So while it's running, I'll show you some other applications which other people have built using Flutter. So you see how interesting and nice it is to work with Flutter. So I'll go to Play Store. Yeah. So there are lots and lots of applications that have been built using Flutter. There's something like Reflectly. If you search for Reflectly, it's a perfect example of the capacity or the abilities Flutter gives you. You'll see a lot of animation and several other things that you can do with Flutter. So this was built by the Reflectly team. And apart from this, you can even search for an application. I think I built an application that compiles on iOS and Android. So I could build Quick Go, and I built the application using Flutter. So if you go to the Play Store and search Quick Go, it's an application built using Flutter. And the application is also available for Android and iOS. So with the ease, the way it was easy for me, as I showed you earlier, it's easy for you to just write an application once and compile it for the different platforms. So if I go to App Store also and search for Quick Go, you can also see the application. It's a transport application, and you can just go on and take a look at it to see what applications you build with Flutter will look like, right? So let's see if, oh wow, our application hasn't finished building, right? So That's all about our showcase. We have seen a number of applications that are built with using Flutter. So I will go on to entertain questions. I think that will be the best things to do. So you go through, and if you have any question at all, I'm looking at the comments now. So do drop your questions. Then we'll look at them together and I will answer them the best way I can. So any questions from the audience? I'm going through your comments now.
I don't think we have any questions. Yes, sir.
All right. So
Okay. All right. I hope people can get the presentation, sir.
okay. Right, since there are no
Thank you very
questions,
much.
let me just
There are
go
no
on to
questions.
conclude finally. So
All right.
with all you have learned today, so I believe you can begin your journey, your Flutter development journey. So I spoke a lot. I spoke a lot about widgets. I spoke about packages and other things. So all I would advise you to go is that you go to flutter.dev. Then on flutter.dev, you'll be able to gather a lot more information. That's the official Flutter documentation. So there, I believe you'll be able to find more information about Flutter. And okay, I think the application I was compiling, the application I was compiling to run on desktop is ready now. So I'm going to show us the application. That application I compiled on Android and iOS. So I'll show you what it also look like on, what do they call it? I'll show you what it looks like on Mac OS running as a desktop application. So check if you can see my screen now. Enoch, can you share my screen, please? Enoch, are you there?
Hello, sir.
All right, yeah, please share my screen.
Yeah.
So I will show
Okay.
the
We have,
desktop.
we have, we have, we have a question here. We have
Okay,
a
why
question.
Mac OS is taking too long to run? Well, typically my laptop takes under 1 minute to compile Android or Mac OS application, but it's just taking more time to run because I'm doing a lot of things on my computer. Like I'm broadcasting my screen and a lot of things. So that's why it's taking a lot of time to run. So I believe that answers your question. All right, do we have any other questions? Okay, so I'm back online. So let me just show you finally what the desktop application look like. Sorry for the delay. As I've said earlier, I'm running a lot of things at the same time with all my Google Chrome tabs. So that's why it's taking a lot of time to load. Um, so I'll log in here, and you'll see without making any changes to our code at all, like I didn't change any single thing on my code, but as you can see here, the desktop application is running just like the way it was running on the Android and iOS platforms. So as you can see, everything is running the same way without making any modifications to our code at all. So that is what we call Flutter one of the best.
Sorry, sir. I think you're sharing the wrong screen, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Hello,
Let
sir.
me,
I think you're sharing the wrong screen, sir. All right, sir.
okay, I think I've switched to the proper screen now.
All right, from preview here, I think it's still the YouTube screen I can see here, sir. Okay, all right. Can you switch, sir? I think, okay, yeah. Okay, we have the right screen, sir.
Okay, so let me read the application. Right, so as I was saying previously, the application I ran on Android and iOS. As you can see here, I'm running it as a desktop application. And as you see here, I'm running it on Mac OS as a desktop app. So without making any modifications to my code at all, you can see the code running perfectly well as a desktop application. So um, I can easily log in just like the way I logged in on the mobile variant. So I can easily log in and everything will still work properly. As you can see, I've logged in successfully and I can make use of the application just the same way I made use of the Android or iOS variant of the application. So this is just an example of how cool it is to make use of Flutter for cross-platform development. As it's running on Mac OS now, I can also compile it to run as a desktop app for the Windows operating system. I can compile as a desktop app to run on Linux or whatever framework it would be. Right, so that's an example application. Then we can also look at this application. Since we have our emulator open here, I think we should just look at it briefly. Then we'll finalize. Right, so you can see some kind of slight animations being displayed. And all this was created from scratch to finish using Flutter. So as you can see, and in the same way as I've written the code for this once, I will also be able to run this particular code base on Android and iOS without any issues at all. So that's how easy it is to compile applications for Android, iOS, or Mac OS, making use of Flutter. So that's it for today, guys. I think in later classes, we might go further to look at how to code in Flutter and other things like that. So thank you for the opportunity to be here, Yemi.
All right,
I appreciate it.
all right. Thank you very much. I think a lot of people have learned, and I know some other people are going to watch this video again later at this time. We know some people might be busy right now, and we'll have to watch later in the night. But I think the best thing is this is an introductory class. That was a job well done. Thank you very much, sir. And I hope maybe next month, instead of having another topic, we can bring on Android again, and we can start coding a real application of Flutter from scratch. Will that be okay by you, sir?
It's okay.
Hello, sir. Okay, I think it will help so that this is an introductory class. People can really have an hands-on practical session, and I think it'll be okay when people can really build applications on their own with Flutter. Instead of having a new topic next month, we are thinking of going on with Android for this time. Sorry, Flutter for this time, so that people can bring up cross-platform applications for their churches and a lot of other things they want to do. And by God's grace, it's going to be around the third week next month. I will update you on that, sir. Thank you very much. It was a very wonderful session. God bless you, sir.
All right, thank you a lot. I enjoyed myself too.
All right. Okay. I think that will be helpful now. All right. Thank you everyone for joining in today. If you are watching this session later, remember to go through the slides. And by God's grace, we are trusting God to continue this series for next month. And if we are not done next month, we can have more sessions on developing mobile applications. So next time, get ready with some installation packages. I will tell you some of the things you need to install now. You can install Android Studio. I will advise you to install Android Studio in preparation for next class. So when you have Android Studio installed on your laptop, I think you will need the SD kit and then the DAT login. Well, if you can't do that on your phone, install with by God's grace, taking up that next class. But just make sure you have Android Studio installed, the latest version of Android Studio installed on your local machine. That is your computer. God bless you. There are not much people online now, but as you watch later, you can drop your comments, share the video, and tell others about Tech Incline. Tech Incline is a gathering of believers, of children of God, to use advanced tech to propagate the kingdom of the living God. And one of the ways to do that is to train ourselves in the way of the Lord and in tech. And this is one of the things we do, coming together every month to learn something new. And especially we go on with things that are, let me say, evolving in the tech world. Flutter is evolving, and there's really more to talk about Flutter. That's why we are taking it on. So God bless you as we close today. I pray the Lord of peace will be with you all, and His grace will never depart from you in the name of Jesus. So remember to share with others. I will post the link to join the WhatsApp platform. So you can join the WhatsApp platform. I will make it a comment right now. So that if you want to join the WhatsApp platform, join easily and invite others to join. And then prayerfully, we build, let me say, innovations that will propagate the gospel. Thank you very much. I love you. And God bless you. Bye.